How
Is
do
it?
you receive feedback, like personally?
If it's my wife, often poorly,
Mm-hmm.
getting better, specific exercise for getting better. And then, when I take it well, you know what I do? I skip over the step where I'm like, oh, that hurt. Like I actually jump over that, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay. I think of it as honestly, I think of it like a sports practice. Like I did a rep and I did it wrong, so it's like okay, like I got to get it right. So I just tell me which way to do it, and then I'll do it. Is how I typically tend to take it. How about
Yeah.
you?
I've always been able to receive it positively and then beat myself up about it later and then internalize it and try to perform and improve. Because, critical feedback, it's the 99 compliments versus the one piece of feedback, and you tend to anchor on that one. I am 100% guilty of that all the time. However, what I've found really is important is one to just receive what the other person is saying, just to hear it. And so to answer your question, is it on the person giving or the person receiving? I think it's on both, but you can only control what you can control, right? Like I can't control how you give feedback. I can only control how I receive your feedback. And I can decide actually not to receive your feedback, but I can do it gracefully and I can do it optimistically and saying, oh, that's an
Gracefully, like I just
interesting
dropped that.
point of view. Yeah, that's an interesting point of view. I appreciate you sharing that piece of feedback. I happen to not agree with it. We get the feedback on the podcast as an example. There are things that I don't agree with. And then there are things it's like, oh, that's interesting. I can take that and I can move forward with it and maybe apply it to what we're doing. So I think that's the
I
point
think
in receiving feedback is you actually don't have to take it all and internalize it and use it. Some of it you just might not agree with, and we can move forward and ultimately say, thank you for your opinion and your thoughts, and not
that
judge and be angry about it. Right.
that sounds like you're putting all the onus on the receiver. Is that accurate?
I take the onus personally as all on me because I can't control how you give it. I can give you feedback back and say, hey, a more productive way that might have been able to land that better with me would have been to do this, this, and this. If I felt so inclined to improve your ability to give feedback, and you can
Yeah,
decide to take that or not take it whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I can only control what I can control. I can't control what you say. My wife and I talk about this all the time.
yeah. I mean, I think that ooh, this is interesting. I think it largely depends on what the feedback is, and how it's delivered actually does matter. So I feel what you're saying. It's kind of an extreme accountability kind of thing, and literally the only thing that you can, figuratively, the only thing that you can manage is your reaction. And I'm not saying blow up if it's not something you like. I like the idea of responding to somebody, to feedback givers. Like I think there are some things to think about because if you actually like, why are you giving feedback? Like if you actually want it to land, then giving it in a harsh, mean, sarcastic, unclear. I mean, I could name 100 things that are wrong with feedback kind of way matter. Hell, you could use the right words in the wrong tone and it's gone. It doesn't matter. So I think it's one of those 100-100 propositions where both you got to bring your A game. Most people like typically it's somewhere less than
So
100.
I think maybe this is something we talk about as we wrap this up because I think that is very much based on the result that you're looking for, right? So if you want the feedback to be received positively, then yes, I mean there's very much. But at the end of the day, receiving feedback is still the formula. And I receiving crappy feedback is part of that formula. It's like, okay, I have decided because you've yelled at me and scorned me that I'm actually not going to receive this feedback. But am I going to let it ruin my day? Am I going to project it onto everybody else I interact with? Am I going to be a
That's what you're getting
miserable
at
human
too.
being? And am I going to ultimately make it a larger issue than it is because you're bad at giving feedback? No, I'm just going to absorb it and maybe let it go because the
Yeah,
source is
and
clearly an issue.
we can go into this more. That gives more color. I think that reminds me that one of the things I do when I get feedback is, especially when it's negative and it's like something I'm doing that I really don't want to be doing, or I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thought, like, you're wrong inside, and then it is very much all right, let me think about this for a second. Like, have
Yeah.
I ever done that? Like,
Yeah.
have I done that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the length of time between the first thought and the second thought matters as to how and when it was delivered.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
plays in. But to your point, I think this is more about, like, where do I give my energy to? Like, am I going to give my energy to that commenter, the feedback giver, or the feedback itself, or am I going to give the energy to being introspective and going about my day? I mean, I think that's where I feel what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I'm still not letting you feedback givers off the hook. Y'all gotta come with your A game.
Let's talk about giving feedback tomorrow.
I gotta game up.
All right. Well, listen. How do you seek to receive feedback? Deuces.
Pleasantly.
All right.